Now, Donald Trump promised to renegotiate NAFTA to be more friendly to the American workers. Now, I'm not opposed to that idea. And actually, I gave Trump credit for ending the TPP, which would have been a disaster for American workers when it came to trade. Now, what a worker-friendly agreement would look like under a Trump or a Republican administration, I don't necessarily know. And I don't think we'll ever know because something like that is not likely to pass a Republican Congress. Nonetheless, Trump is renegotiating NAFTA. They're actually working on that. They're talking to both Mexico and Canada. And Canada has decided that they would use these negotiations to demand something of the United States. Now, what are they asking for? Are they asking for more American investment? Are they asking to tighten the border between Canada and the United States in order to prevent American refugees from fleeing the Trump administration? No. Actually, it turns out that Canada is demanding that the United States eliminate what is called right-to-work legislation. Now, this is according to the Canadian Globe and Mail. One group of negotiators spent all day Sunday working on the labor file. One source familiar with the discussion said Canada wants the United States to pass a federal law stopping state governments from enacting right-to-work legislation. The source has said the United States has not agreed to such request. I'm not surprised. Now, according to Christine Owens, executive director of the National Employment Law Project, a total of 28 states, including 3 this year, have passed what is known as right-to-work legislation. Now, she says that is a sledgehammer that dilutes worker organization and bargaining, paving the way for lower wages and a host of labor violations. So that's what she says about right to work. Now, what it actually does in practice, I guess, is that, well, that's what it does in practice. This is what it does in theory. It allows workers in unionized shops basically to not pay union dues but still get benefits. So kind of freeload, right? At least that's how I view it. Now, I know some people are like in favor of that because they don't want to pay into union dues. Some people might not like being part of the union. Some people don't want to be a part of the union. They think that maybe unions no longer have a use and that they only protect lazy workers and they give their money to the Democrats or your money to the Democrats more specifically, and they're against that as well. Now, while they do give money to the Democratic Party for the most part, and there certainly are some cases that unions will protect lazy workers, overall, the good that they do vastly overshadows the bad. And that's, of course, borne out by, like, you just look at the data, right? Well, when we had stronger unions, people were, on average, they were paid better. They actually had better benefits, and companies also did fairly well. I mean, companies still thrived when there were strong unions. We still had industry, we still had commerce, we still had people taking risks, being entrepreneurs and creating businesses. We still had jobs. So, however, since the decline of unions, starting in the Reagan administration, we've actually seen an increase in the CEO to worker pay gap. Now, instead of making about 30 to 40 times what their workers make for taking the risks of running a business, and that seems fair, we're now seeing CEOs make over 300 times the rate of their workers, which again, that's a massive, massive pay gap. Okay. There are also less benefits going to those workers, less pay, more executive compensation. It's not an accident. Now, right to work, that legislation, it already takes the unions, which are vastly disempowered from what they once were. They're not a powerful force in American politics, and they're certainly not a huge force in the workplace anymore. In some places, they still have some sort of a presence. But overall in America, union membership have shrunk dramatically, right? Now, what this would be, a federal right-to-work legislation, it would be the final nail in the coffin for worker representation. And it just so happens that Republicans have introduced that sort of legislation. It would make right-to-work the law of the land. So, now, I don't think that's the right way to go. I disagree with that. Worker representation, I think, is necessary for all sides to come to a fair and equitable agreement. When you give corporations all the power, what do you think they're going to do? They're not going to look out for your best interests. No, you have to have a group of people that are looking out for your best interest. They're going to look out for their own, okay? And look, you don't have to imagine what happens without unions. We have places, first of all, we have a history. You can look at that. And there are also places across the, world that don't have organized labor or worker protections. These are places like Bangladesh and China, Vietnam. They routinely have workplaces that are not safe, safety rules that are not enforced, and a lot of them have sweatshop conditions where they end up paying workers very, very little. And no benefits, no protections, and just really terrible working conditions, right? Now, the Republican Party kind of wants to return a little bit to that. Not necessarily to sweatshop conditions, but I think they want to deregulate the market and basically let these companies run their workplaces however they want without worker representation. They want to crush the unions. So now we need to go the opposite way. We actually do need some stronger unions so that we can return to that balance. Now, that's important. I don't think we're going to do it, but it is rather nice of Canada to demand this. It's very, very Canadian of them to look after their American neighbors. So appreciate the gesture. I'm not sure it will go anywhere, but well done, Canada. Well done. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.